What's up, everybody? It's Sathia here from the Man Within podcast. Welcome to a really special interview with my buddy Jake. Now, I brought Jake on the show because I've learned a lot from Jake over the years, but specifically, we've been helping guys quit pornography since 2018. And one of the things that we find is when guys do get this really terrible thing out of their life, they get tons of time, energy, and other resources back, and they don't always know how to use them effectively because porn's been a part of their life for so long. So if you're having some success quitting pornography, or you obviously want to have success in this area one day, this interview is going to give you some ideas on how to be more productive, how to have better habits, how to manage your time effectively. I mean, Jake is a whiz with these things, and I'm going to save a story for just a minute here to explain why you should specifically listen to Jake, but that's what we got queued up today, and really, there's nobody else I'd want on the show to talk about the subject other than my man, Jake Nicole.
I'm so honored, buddy.
It's
been an amazing journey, just to brag on you for a second, to watch you go from being an assistant to a pastor, to now this awesome business leader who's doing amazing things, an amazing father of two. We're just on this wild journey as buddies together.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to realize this, but you and I get together, every Friday we hang out with our families.
A couple times a month,
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so I need to give some context because truthfully, if anybody that's listening to the show, anybody that's ever bought something from us, a course, been part of the community, or done coaching from us, they actually owe all of that to you, because none of this would exist if it weren't for you. And I'll try not to get emotional about it, but you were really the first person who ever believed in me as a business person. And I still remember the day that we were on a Zoom call and I was telling you I wanted to do business. You kind of saw some potential in me, and I told you I wanted to do business, and I had a bunch of ideas, and we were working on a different idea that you're like, yeah, I think we could do something with this. And then I told you, I was like, I actually have this idea to help guys quit porn. I have a strategy. It's based on my own story and whatever. And you're like, dude, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you lead with that? That's obviously the idea. So you were the first person to just breathe life on the idea. And Deep Clean started because I did your coaching program. You gave me all the nuts and bolts, helped me build the business, and just kind of get my feet on the ground. And if it weren't for that season, and it's crazy because we were friends for a long time, but we kind of got disconnected. Yeah. And then we got reconnected a little bit just before that, a few months before that. And I honestly think it was the Lord, but I'm so grateful to you.
Yeah.
I tell you this all the time. I'm sure you're sick of hearing it, but none of this would exist without you. So thank you for just everything you deposited in me in that season.
Listen, man, that means a ton. And on the record too, I mean, if we want to get crazy with this stuff, you were speaking prophetic words over me. There's so much truth that's come about in my life from a season of you and me connecting during that.
Yeah.
And really hilarious context, because I forget about it all the time. And when I remember it makes me laugh out loud, is you prophesied a word over my wife.
I actually forgot about that story.
Which is crazy. So my wife and I, Helen, we haven't met at this time.
Yeah.
And
I'm in full-time ministry.
You're in full-time ministry.
Yeah.
And it's November of, I don't know, would be maybe 2017.
Yes.
And you say someone really important is going to come into your life. That was really it. And you're like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't want to mess it up for you.
Yeah.
But and this is I think you essentially encouraged her. Have you ever put a list together of what you're looking for in a person? And 2 months later, Helen meets me. Just a total coincidence. That church,
crazy.
Not a coincidence. It's God's plan with stuff like this. And I would say with you, the same thing that I saw is I can't take any credit for your success, man. I think you just stood on the shoulders of I was one of the many people that got to play a little role in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you, bro. So I love that we get to sit here and do this, man. This is such a treat.
Yeah. And just to drive this whole thing one step further, because you and I, so we reconnected. You helped me build the business. And then we kind of just started hanging out.
Yeah.
And I wasn't living where we live now. So we were going to different churches and all that kind of stuff. And then you and Helen wound up getting married a month before Shaloma and I did.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you had your first son, Harvey, I think 4 months before we had Judah.
Yep.
And then you just had a daughter. And
crazy.
You had her, I think, about 8 months before we had Josiah. So we're always a little bit behind, but we're generally in just the same stage of life at all times.
Tell you what, bro, you're ahead of me in other things in life, so it's good, man. We're here to rock and roll together.
Iron sharpens iron, which has been really fun.
That's it.
So anyways, okay, I think we've given enough credit where credit needs to be.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about habits and productivity. I think maybe as a starting point, anybody that knows you knows that you're very diligent, you're super disciplined, and I think, again, even someone who's watching this on video can tell, you take care of yourself physically, you're an entrepreneur, you've been very successful in business for a long time, but you're also very devout at home, very involved in your faith. That's actually how we became friends. We were praying for the sick in Niagara Falls. We'd go out to
remember.
See Jesus do miracles, which was kind of crazy.
Which we did. We saw some crazy stuff.
We saw some wild stuff, yeah. So where does this whole like drive to even just be productive come from for you?
Yeah, awesome question. For me, the drive to be productive started at a pretty young age, playing music.
Yeah.
Actually, I would even rewind a little further. I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. And I had this belief from a really young age that it was too late by the time I was like in grade 7, that it was too late to pick up a new profession because I was already going to be a professional skateboarder. And I hurt my knee on a half pipe when I was in grade 7. I tore some ligaments in my left knee. Okay. And when I hurt myself, my mom was driving me to the hospital, and in the back seat, I'm in grade 6, grade 7. And I say to her, how am I going to support a family one day if I get injured like this and I've got kids and a family and I'm trying to make a living skateboarding? And my mom burst out laughing. She was like, who is this kid that I'm raising? 12. Yeah. And I get a lot of that from her for sure. She's very much an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I'd say my mother planted a lot of those seeds, gave me access to a lot of books. And then it was after that injury, I was like, well, I guess I'll just have to be a professional drummer. I said that to her in the car. I was like, that's the next thing that I've spent the most time on.
Okay.
So like, I'm going to be behind.
Like if I try and logical here.
Yeah. My belief was that like I was competitive at this young age where I was like, my thing is skateboarding. So I'm going to be the very best at it. And I was obsessed, man. I would like film videos back in the day with a big VHS recorder. And I was like, I'm going to be a pro skateboarder. And there's lots of cool stories in that too. But the drive to be productive then led me into music. Okay. And I started touring and playing bands. I had a high school band. We did all kinds of fun stuff, like traveled across Canada a couple times.
Cool.
And doing that, I met a buddy who we ended up launching a business together that was like Netflix for drummers.
Yeah, 180 Drums.
Yes. And then I fell in love with music. Then I went on to like buy Drum Magazine, which was a magazine I'd grown up reading. And when I bought that business, I was like, oh, cool, there's something to buy in businesses. And I just loved the negotiation piece.
Yes.
And ultimately, it kind of led me into real estate because I had so much fun brokering the deal to buy Drum Magazine that I was like, what if I could just do deals like this all the time?
Yeah.
And real estate kind of became an extension. All of this, though, the seeds of it was like whatever I was doing, I wanted to win. I wanted to be the best at it. And I can't really tell you where that came from other than I think that God just put something in my heart that was like, let's go and succeed and work hard and, you know, do something fun.
Yeah.
But life is more fun when you're winning at something, when you're pushing yourself. It's just so much more fun, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you and I think have that in common. We're very driven. We just did a coaching program together this last year, which was really fun. Actually, the first workshop was all about how you manage your time. And I know that changed. We're teaching that now. Like we run a Bible study together. So we were teaching that in our small group. So it's been kind of fun. So I guess, so you were driven from a young age. Were you always thinking about how you manage your time and habits and productivity as well? Were you that kid who's like, you know, you're doing paradiddles or whatever they call them, like you're practicing drums when, you know, you maybe could be out with your friends and stuff like that? Have you always been very disciplined? Yeah, for sure. Okay. To the point where I remember really specifically, I wouldn't hang out with younger skateboarders than me because they were going to hold me back. Right. So my friends were all 4 years older when I was like in grade 5. I had these friends that were like in grade 9, and they dealt with me. They put up with me. Sure. Right. They're like, we don't want this kid around. Yeah. But I was a decent skateboarder. And then with music, it was the same type of thing where we'd be traveling around playing music, and I would be in the back on my practice pad. And because I also had a big just priority to make sure faith was a part of my life. I was never drinking. I wasn't in that scene, but my band members were like drunk after every gig, smoking weed after every gig. So I would literally hide out in back rooms that we had at the venues, wherever we were staying. They'd be like having a party with like a bunch of strangers, and I'd be in the other room either reading a book or practicing. Like it was kind of hilarious when I look back. So that How old are you?
I would have been in high school at that point.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I just was like, I want to win, right? I want to be the best.
Yeah.
And I'd say things all the time to my mom, like I'm going to be the best drummer in the world. I'm going to be the best at this. I think she let me have a little bit of this crazy belief. Yeah. And even to this day, my business partner, Dave, would say, you just will things into existence where you almost sound a little bit like your level of self-belief is delusional. Yes. But then like you go do it. Yeah. And I think that I'm aware of the fact that sometimes I'm saying things that are like, oh, it's kind of crazy, but I've just seen enough crazy things happen at this point that I'm like, let's just go big. Yeah. So at a pretty young age, to answer the question, I was very much like, let's get organized. And then heading out of the music years into more business, I would have things on my phone, like faking movement or mistaking movement for achievement, where I would have an app that would like every 15 minutes notify me to write down what I was working on and doing. And like,
oh, wow, okay.
I tried a lot of things that was wastes of time.
Was that like a time audit kind of thing?
Yeah. And like using mixtures of like the Pomodoro method with like some app that would be like, I'd map my whole day in an app that would buzz and I'd have to move on to the next thing. Like I thought I was being productive. Right. I was mistaking just the idea of a lot of stuff for achievement.
Yes.
So I've always been a little bit obsessed with like, how do I best manage my time?
Yes.
And I'm in a very different groove today with kids than I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And I think it's working in my favor.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was talking to Shalom about this a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh man, it's so cool to see the year you're having.
Cool.
Because your business is like crushing.
Yep.
And you have like things in a really good place at home. For anybody that knows realtors, like usually it's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's very rarely both. So I see what God's doing in your life, and I know faith-wise, like you've really leveled things up the last little bit as well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So it's just, anyways, you've had a really cool year, which has been great to see. But let's try to scale this back a bit. So you have somebody who has a really bad relationship with pornography. It drains a lot of their time, a lot of their energy. And now they're starting to get that back. This is a question we're getting a lot now in our community. So it's like they got, 3 hours a week. They got some guys, it's like 10, 12 hours a week back, because it's not just the hours you spend watching. And this is like a great lesson that we've learned in business. Like it's the hours before, it's the hours after. Like
yes,
it's the quality of the time, but the quality of the time is so much dictated by what happens leading up to it.
100%.
So I know for a lot of guys, whether we're talking about actual time on the clock or we're just talking about mental energy, and physical energy and everything else. So a lot of guys are getting these resources back and then don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
So I think for you, like what I'm hearing and what I've definitely seen is you're very naturally driven. It sounds like you've always been very ambitious. But what would you say to somebody who is, they're ambitious in the sense of, okay, I want to steward these resources better, my time, my energy, my money, whatever. But I have this very long-standing history with pornography that's drained a lot of that.
Yep.
And now I get these resources back, but I don't know what to do with them. What should somebody do to start to try to make a good use of those resources God's giving them?
So for me, and I'd love to even share for a second a bit of the story to lead into how to answer that question. So I'm like in grade 3 or 4 over at Kevin Thompson's house on a sleepover seeing pornography for the first time. Okay. And it was something that he, coming from a broken home, had seen his father look at somehow, website browser history, something like that. Sure. I mean, we're older, man. So this is like early internet days, right? Yeah.
It could have been a VHS, could have been an early internet.
Totally. It was early internet days. And I can still like vaguely remember the website because it's like these things stick with you, right?
So this was on a site, okay,
it was definitely on a website. Okay. And then it was like a lot of sleepovers and stuff like this. You're exposed to things, right? And then from then all the way into my mid to late 20s, it was a challenge. It was always pervasive and it was like on my mind. I'd go through these big swings of time where it wasn't really as much of a challenge. Yeah. And I'd, gotten myself free enough that I was like, cool. And then it would come back. And then it would be like I was dating and then I'm doing things I'm not supposed to be doing. And it's like all of these different things that kind of kept it humming there in the background. And what I can tell you is I lost a lot of momentum in important years of my life, getting caught up in relationships, chasing girls that didn't end up panning out mattering, right? Yeah. And wasting a lot of time. And the way I would share how much time it's brought me back now, being like, what year would it be? Even a couple years into marriage, struggling with it to the point where now I'm like coming up on 4 years as of I think February. That it's like I haven't even seen pornography, right? I've like axed it from my life entirely. Yes, temptation's still there, challenges are still there. Sure, but I really believe that when you get your headspace away from this like itchy addiction, it's like such an itchy addiction, right? It's like this thing you got to scratch all the time. When you can get free from that, it's not that you don't ever still have those temptations; they just get really spread out in some ways, and they're not as itchy. It's like you can like put your mind somewhere else and get over it, get away from it. Yeah. Having shared that, the time that it's bought back is like this. I've got an app on my phone called Opal that allows me to block Instagram and Facebook throughout the day. Okay. So it makes it so that in order for me to open up those apps, I got to sit in this Opal app for like 30 seconds before it'll allow me to open up Instagram. Oh, interesting. It's like you have to have the app open. Yeah, and you can't do anything else on your phone. Okay. And the second you go away, the 30 seconds starts over. Wow, so it forces you to think about what you're doing. Just enough friction for me to not waste my time on Instagram. And it's just like 5 in the morning until 7 in the evening. So in the evening, if I want to open up Instagram, I can.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's so much friction though that it prevents me from looking at Instagram. The other day I saw in the last year, it said 2,600 hours of time that were blocked through the app. Now I can't tell you that even 20% of that time was time I would have been looking at Instagram.
Sure.
It's a lot of time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But the moral of this is pornography is one of those things where the amount of time is like, if you were to look at a year, it would probably blow your mind how much of your time gets consumed.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Because I looked at that and I'm like, let's just say, Cynthia, that this app saved me 50 hours of my working time from being on Instagram or Facebook, or time with my family or whatever.
Yeah.
What are that's 2,600 hours that it said or something.
Yeah.
Let's just say it was 50 hours.
Right.
What are 50 hours of my time worth?
Yeah.
Right?
That's like one full work week and still some time.
Crazy perspective.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's probably saved me a lot more time than I realized, because you and I both know task switching, these things affect us.
Yeah.
Pornography is not just like you looking at it. It's you ruminating about it in advance. And then afterwards, the run-on effects. And then you're killing your testosterone. Like you and I also are health guys. It's like you start to get into the whole world of just messing up with your testosterone.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on. And I know this is a long answer, but I think for me, it's like the story of me being exposed to it and then dealing with it to get to the place where I am today. I can see how much more clear my mind feels now. And it's made it exciting for me to find other things like the Instagrams, the Facebook, these other itchy things that I let into my life that become like little micro addictions where you get rid of that stuff and your brain just starts to feel like it works again in a cool way.
Yeah, that's really cool. This is something that we've started doing in our inner circle, kind of our community membership, is when people join, one of the first things we do is talk to them about their tech, especially with the phone. And we have like a tech optimizer checklist and all, like a whole list of things that people can do to just get their tech optimized, because you're right, like it's a huge trap. Even if you don't struggle with pornography, you can still waste countless hours on these social apps or doing whatever else, and it's just not really productive. So that's a great little tip. What do you do in the mornings? Are you a morning routine guy? You and I both are fans of Hormozy, who
for sure
is definitely pioneering like an anti-morning routine approach. But and we have kids, right? We got little kids as well. So I know for me, mornings look very different. What do they look like for you?
Yeah, very different. I've gone through every season of life. I've gone through like waking up at 5 a.m. for an extended period of years. Then it was like, okay, maybe it's 6 a.m. I had a whole season where maybe just like 3 or 4 months where I was trying to do, I can't remember if it's Nikola Tesla or Einstein, one of these crazy guys that operated on like 3-hour work days where they'd work for 3 hours, have a micro nap, work for 3 hours, have a micro nap. So remember I tried this for a little while where I was waking up at like 3:15 in the morning because I was like some sleep rhythm thing. I've tried all kinds of things. There's a podcast with Derek Sivers talking to Tim Ferriss. Probably 10 years old. And he talked about this idea that it took me all the way until I had kids to appreciate it, which is, he said, I would time myself doing bike rides where I'd try and see how fast I could do this one segment of a bike ride. And there was a day where I was like having a lot of fun and I wasn't timing myself. I was just enjoying it. And I set the best time I'd ever set. And he said, there's a lot to be taken for that in life of not feeling like you got to squeeze every ounce of everything and make everything happen and just kind of enjoy a little bit of the journey. I'm currently in a year of enjoying the journey and like financially set records for myself. Time at home, I pretty much work from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. That's it. My mornings are slow. I enjoy my time with my kids. I squeeze in those workouts. Usually with the kid half hanging off of me. Right? Thanks to you, I'm doing the Big Butt Boring workout. That's all I've done since you recommended it like 2 years ago. It's been phenomenal. The strongest I've ever been.
I was gonna say, you're looking great, dude.
Let's go.
You put on some major muscle the last little bit.
You and I worked out together, and it's like I don't look all that big, but I feel strong, man. Like I can lift some weight that I'm surprised about. You know, like overhead pressing 70-pound dumbbells. I'm like feeling strong,
you're
right?
Weight.
But all this is to say that I haven't made it so that success needs to be this crazy grind. And I think that there's also a lot of information I've heard to support the idea that as you have kids, you actually earn more. That could be correlated to the fact you're just getting older. Honestly. But I believe there's also some truth to the fact that you start to have kids. You just have to be productive with whatever little time you have.
It's so true.
So you work smarter and you're just more effective. So my morning routines are pretty chill. I know I just gave you my whole day routine almost there.
That's good.
But morning routines are very relaxed to be like, let's wake up, let's enjoy time with the kids. Let's wake up naturally. Haven't even really been setting an alarm this whole year, which is kind of wild.
Love that,
And I've been loving every minute of it.
I love that too. Actually, I do that as well. I don't set an alarm. I mean, we have alarms. They're called kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're little human alarm clocks.
True.
But I actually have a chili pad. I don't. Do you do anything with your sleep? Because we talked about optimizing sleep. So I have a chili pad that it wakes you up, but it wakes you up with heat.
Ooh.
Because that's like evolutionarily, that's like the natural way we would have woken up would be the heat of the sun. So that's been kind of fun, but it is nice to not set an alarm clock. I really do enjoy that.
Need to get a chili pad.
Yes.
My rooms are freezing cold in our house when we sleep.
Oh, which is good.
Yeah.
It's better for sleep anyway.
Freezing cold, I think our house, especially in the winter, makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
But we're like 16, 17 degrees in the house.
Whoa.
Like
you're way down there.
Yeah, we get it
Your
cold.
kids are fine?
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome. Okay.
I think it actually helps them sleep. And then at like 5:30 in the morning, I have the heat set to turn on, so that the whole house starts to kind of warm up, and that naturally I think wakes everybody up. By the time it's like 6:37, everybody's kind of up, and
smart.
So it's worked. But I need to get a little dedicated chili pad.
The chili pad's nice. Yeah. Do you do any faith stuff in the morning? Any devotions, prayer time, anything there?
Yeah. So one more thing, actually, I wear an Oura ring.
Okay.
Super helpful as a positive feedback loop or negative feedback loop.
True.
To be like, what am I doing that's working, isn't working? Last little thing for the evening stuff leading into the morning is that if I don't eat too much before bed, I sleep so much better. I've noticed a huge relationship with my resting heart rate messing up my sleep. If it's too much stuff in my gut, all my blood goes into my stomach, and then I have a hard time getting a good sleep. So like, I don't know if you've gone deep down tracking into this stuff. Now that I've had probably 8 years of wearing an Oura ring.
Wow.
I have a lot of data.
No kidding.
I've watched my HRV levels drop as I've gotten older.
Yeah, frustrating.
Which is crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's frustrating. But I think the other thing that I took away from that is how much like eating late at night, caffeine too late into the afternoon. I have friends who are like, I can have coffee and then go to bed. It's like, you might be able to, but it doesn't mean you're getting a good sleep. The quality of the sleep's not there.
Yeah.
So anyway, side note, the more important question you just asked me is faith routines. The most important thing I've been doing lately that's been a total game changer for me, I found it a little bit difficult to just wake up and read scripture, especially with kids running around and everything going on.
Yeah.
I got an app, and I don't even know if I've told you this yet. It's called like Memory Bible app or something. I can include it for the notes here.
Okay.
And what it does is you can set a bunch of scriptures that you want to memorize, and then it reminds you every couple days that you need to work on them. Okay. Because I'm competitive that way, it's given me something to work towards.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, cool, they give you a little green or red check mark depending on the day how you're doing with memorizing stuff.
Yes.
So John 15, Psalm 15, Psalm 23. I've memorized 5-6 verses of all those chapters.
Cool.
It's really helped me memorize longer pieces of scripture.
I love that.
And I found that throughout the days, I'm practicing it. I'm in the shower practicing it.
Right.
I'm just thinking about scripture a lot more.
So good.
So that's been a practice that's been time effective for me with kids right now. Very time effective. Sometimes I do find it hard to just sit and have time to sit and read anything for that matter.
Yeah.
And then in the evenings, sometimes a little bit tricky, but it's been usually an evening time that I will sit down before bed and read something.
No, that's great. Yeah. I mean, so there's two things that you point out there that I want to just highlight. Number one is, I think a lot of people talk about time management, and there's, like Cal Newport's the guy he's like the deep work guy, right? Like do your deep work first, block everything out, turn off notifications. Amazing. Truth be told, I would not have scaled Deep Clean if it weren't for deep work.
Cool.
Because I had probably 2 years where just the first 3 hours was deep work and got a lot done. Wrote my book in that time, did a bunch of things. Very helpful. But one thing that I learned in Strategic Coach, the program that we were just in, is it's not just about managing your time, it's about managing your energy.
Yeah, huge.
And so that's why even the health metrics are so important. And an Oura ring is expensive, but then it's only $7 a month or something like that afterwards for your data, right? Is that right?
Or
it's free?
Maybe because I got it so early.
I think it's free because you got it. Maybe, I don't know.
Cool. I'm grandfathered in that. I don't know. I've had it so long.
Sweet.
I've got I had a V1 ring, like the original Oura ring.
Oh, okay.
And then the battery died so quick because I was wearing it all the time that I just wear it at night now. So I don't get probably the benefits of you're wearing a hoop or something.
Yeah, I wore a Whoop band before.
I wouldn't get the benefits of the daytime metrics of activity, everything else. I should probably get something.
Well, if you're going to track something, nighttime is probably the most important.
It is because it just dictates everything. I find because I don't force myself to wake up without an alarm, I have energy all day long now. I used to always have 3 p.m. I'm so tired.
Yeah, you get the crash.
It's not a thing anymore. I have pretty steady energy throughout the day.
That's awesome.
I'm drinking a coffee or two a day, which there was a while there I was even trying to eliminate caffeine a bit, which there's probably some benefits too.
Yeah.
But the activity piece, the reason that's so important is I've thought about this a lot lately. we meet guys all the time that are like wealthy and ultra wealthy. Okay. And we go to Strategic Coach. We got a guy that's running a, $100+ million construction business with huge margins. Like there's varying levels of success in even those programs. Yeah. But then you and I are meeting these people. And the thing that I've thought a lot about is like, what do these people spend their money and time on? A lot of them will go and buy nice cars to drive around in, or like amazing houses to live in. Yeah. But you don't really live in a house or spend that much time in a car. You live in a body. And your body is actually the vehicle that does everything for you. It's how you think, it's how you process, it's how you move around, it's how you're gonna age. And it's like, you see these big fat guys, for lack of anything better to call them, that are like super overweight and really wealthy and have a big house. And I'm like, yeah, but you live in a crappy body, right? So it's like, doesn't matter how nice your house is, you get up and you feel pain, or you sit in your Ferrari and your back hurts, right? So I've been thinking a lot about how our body is like this temple of the Holy Spirit, right? It's how we actually operate and live. And if your brain's foggy, if you're already putting yourself in like a stressed out state of mind, everything's harder, right? Your addiction, like trying to get rid of all that stuff, everything's just a little more friction.
No, it's such a good point. In fact, I love that you mentioned the scripture there, because it's 1 Corinthians 6 where Paul writes, he doesn't write, not all sins are the same, but he basically says, sexual sin is different because he who sins sexually sins against his own body.
Wow.
Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit?
Right.
So that's why this is so relevant for this conversation. And I didn't even realize this, but we started to get more stories of guys, they quit pornography and then they started lifting weights.
Cool.
Or they quit pornography.
Yeah, because they got all that testosterone, man.
Yeah. But I think also, if you're sinning sexually, you're violating your own body. There's something about sexual sin that reinforces like, my body's not valuable, or it's just my body, it doesn't matter. That you get that back. When you quit sexual sin, you also gain a value for your body. You naturally just want to take care of it more. So I think these guys are lifting weights. We had one guy who started running ultra marathons. It was something he always wanted to do.
So cool.
So anyways, just so people understand why this is so important, because to be honest, I would have kind of rolled my eyes at a conversation like this a few years ago of like, I'm not a health nut. That's what I would have said. Like, I'm not an athlete. Why do I need to track this stuff? But I think there's so much value to actually taking care of your body, because it dictates, number one, it's biblical. But number two, it actually does dictate your energy. And your energy is actually going to determine how well you manage your time. Because when people talk about time management, it often is a quantity thing. How many hours you spend doing this or that, or deep work, or it's all these strategies. But it's actually more about the quality of your time. That was a huge takeaway for me from Strategic Coach, where they talk about like having different days that you focus on different things, so that your highest quality days are doing really, really impactful activity. So anyways, I like what you're talking about. The other thing I wanted to say that I thought was really powerful is you just talked about how you know your own body. And I think there's something to be said for that, because there is a lot of general advice out there. And I've told you, like, I'm working with a naturopath. I love it because I'm getting like specific markers in my gut, in my blood that are just for me. So in fact, I actually just had a meeting with him recently, and he was looking at my levels, and he said, if I just looked at you or heard some of the stuff you were going through, I would have suggested some omega-3s or something like that. Very common supplement to give. But he did my blood work, and he's like, you have the best omega-3 profile I've ever seen. This guy works with like professional athletes.
How good did that feel?
Oh, really good. Awesome. Yeah, not everything in the report was good, but I'm just sharing the highlight. I felt pretty good. But
you might die in a week, but those omega-3s, man,
wow. You're gonna die going with style, But the thing he was saying is he's like this is why knowing your individual health is so helpful, because you can follow general advice. It just doesn't always. Anyways, a bit of a tangent, but I think there's something to be said about knowing your body. So you mentioned the mornings, that you're competitive. And so that's what's motivating you to kind of do the scripture memorization. I love that. Okay, talk to me about evenings. So, because I think generally anytime we've compared sleep scores, you're always much further ahead of me. So I think your sleep is in a good place. And I think your job, if we compared our work days side by side, your life is a lot crazier than mine. A lot more sporadic. So the fact that you sleep better drives me crazy. I should be sleeping better than you for sure. So what are you doing? Tell us about your evenings and sleep.
Oh man, I've thought so much about sleep because I've had so much time to analyze that data. And every day I look at it and I'm like, cool, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? A couple easy sleep hacks, because like I definitely have got a few things that are helpful. Number one is if you go to bed and your gut is full of food, your blood's there, which means your heart has to work to process the food, right? Because it's not like it's just sitting in your stomach overnight, not digesting.
No.
Like it's digesting.
Right.
So that will 100%, you go and put on any kind of sleep measurement tool, you're going to be amazed at how much you see your heart rate was high all night. So for me, my average resting heart rate is below 50 when I sleep. It's like 46 or something is a good heart rate.
Really good.
But I notice when I eat food, it's like 55. Like the numbers change dramatically.
Okay.
And that really then affects how you go through the different levels of sleep. So it affects your REM. And by the way, I'll say I am far from a sleep expert. This is very anecdotal of what I've noticed for myself.
For sure.
This isn't like me dishing out any kind of health advice, because my wife would laugh. Wonderful Helen would be like, "What in the world were you doing giving medical advice?" But she's a nurse practitioner, folks, so she knows. What I will say though is that just anecdotally for me, and having spent time looking at some of the research around sleep, I can definitely say that obviously it's like get your space cold for sleep, right? Kill your screen time as much as you can before bed.
Yeah. Do you have a cutoff?
Very hard to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I generally try to stop looking at my phone about an hour before bed.
Okay.
But do I always follow that? Honestly, no.
Do you do filters or blue light blocking glasses or any of those? You know, you can get like filters on your screen that change the light.
My phones and my computers have always had like F-Lux is one of them or something like that. Exactly. So I've always had a different kind of way to try and monitor that blue light, because that's a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
The biggest stuff is stopping caffeine. So here's the obvious stuff. Don't have caffeine past noon. Okay. Don't have a big giant meal before bed. Definitely don't go have a whole bunch of sugar before bed. That's something I'm just not allowed to do. If I'm gonna have a snack, it's like guacamole and some chips, or like you know, something that's like decent, like nice healthy chips. Okay.
Yeah.
So I try to have stuff like that. Being hydrated before bed, but not drinking a whole ton of water before you go to bed, so you're waking up having to urinate in the middle of the night is a helpful thing. With us, we have a king size bed. Dude. We sleep on the opposite side.
That's a game changer, man.
Game changer.
Shalom and I are still stuck in a queen size. And
it's hard. That's hard. Yeah. It's tricky. We did that. We actually had, you remember I had a condo when we first got married.
Yeah.
And it was like a Murphy bed, because I wanted to have the extra office space. So we had a Murphy bed that folds off the wall.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it was like a small queen.
I do remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Small little queen size bed. So it was tricky at first. Going up to a king really helped us change the sleep. Yeah. That's probably another reason you need a chili pad, is like women can be warm.
Yeah.
Okay? My wife's warm. Like she will radiate heat. I'll be sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like a foot away from her, and I can literally feel it feels like there's a little heating device in our bed. I'm like, your body's just radiating heat.
Hilarious.
It's crazy.
I'm that person in our relationship.
There you go. So any other kind of core things? It's like a lot of it at this point is just having practiced, having a good routine around bed. Reading before bed's amazing for just like knocking you out. Don't read business books ever before bed.
Yeah.
It's always something like, I just finished a hilarious book about a guy touring through Europe.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know, probably written in the 90s. It's just like his hilarious interpretation of his experience walking through different cities and everything. So something to laugh, like to kind of calm you down.
Yeah.
If stuff's on my mind, I'll write it down so I forget about it and don't let myself think about it.
So you have a pad beside your bed?
Yep. And then I'll always pray before bed. So Helen and I pray together. That's been a routine since we got married.
That's good.
Doesn't have to be a big long prayer. It's just like a consistent routine.
Yeah.
So,
talk to me about the notepad. That's a really cool one. So, just if anything comes to mind, work-wise, like anything at all that could be distracting, is that the idea?
Yeah. So I noticed there's nights where I'd be lying there and I'm like ruminating on things.
Yeah.
So to be able to just like roll over and write stuff down is super, super helpful.
Yeah, that's good.
I've made it a practice to just, as soon as I'm getting close to bed, it's like just try and get everything off your mind.
Yeah.
Because like, what do you find for you impacts sleep negatively the most?
I feel like I still have not gotten to the bottom of it. I know sometimes I'm just wired a little bit in the evenings. And then it's funny, we were talking about the health metrics because it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So the one side of it is that you understand your body better, but the other side of it is that you obsess over it or you think too much about it. So when I was trying to optimize sleep, my sleep actually was like not great because I was trying too hard. Like you're almost thinking too much about it.
Yep.
So right now, what's messing up my sleep is Josiah. So he's 3 months and he's sleeping in the bedroom with us. He's in his own bassinet.
Yeah.
So that's just tough. Like
that's hard.
There's not too much I can do about that. And Judah has sleep regressed.
Yeah.
So instead of waking up at 7 like he used to, he wakes up at 5:30.
Okay.
And sometimes he's waking up in the middle. So and like I'm taking care of him because Shalom was with the newborn. So I'm definitely just a little bit on edge right now.
Yeah.
But to answer your question in reverse, like when I have slept the best, I get everything out of my mind, and that's why I was so curious about what you just said.
Yep.
Because there was a little window. It didn't last very long. It was probably 3 weeks when Josiah was born. Maybe he was like 6 weeks old. And I just slept really well. And I did not sleep super long because there's the newborn dynamic. But I was just out like a light.
Yeah.
And deep sleep, really well rested when I woke up. And I was like, what is going on? But because we had to be up a little bit later with him, so I was like journaling, or I would talk to someone.
Cool.
And then I kind of started doing like audio journaling, just talking to my phone. So I think there's something there. That's like the thing, that's the thread I'm pulling on right now to see if that'll help me sleep better.
There's another huge thing. You and I, when we took our families down to Jamaica, okay, or anytime I'm on vacation, I've noticed my sleep scores go through the roof.
Yeah, I sleep better and my digestion's way better.
100%.
Yeah.
And part of that I've noticed is, I don't know about you, when I look at my steps, whether it's my phone or whatever, it's like I'm walking 4, 5, maybe even 6 times as much, right? I'll go from like a pretty sedentary lifestyle. It's like, we go to the gym, right?
Yeah,
we lift heavy weights.
Yeah.
But like, I hardly do any cardio, which is a problem.
Yeah.
So I've noticed we started doing the stairs once a week, and I noticed my sleeps after that would be huge. So I actually think the vacation thing is like, less stressors, no doubt about it. But I honestly also think you're just so much more active. You're like walking all day, ripping around nonstop.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting, because I was talking with someone recently about our trip to Italy, and Italy was like, we were eating pizza, pasta, and gelato every meal, right? Like 3 times a day. But Shalom and I both lost weight and felt amazing eating all that food that we could never really eat here, certainly in that volume. And definitely, I mean, the food is, I think, a huge part of it because the quality is better. But the other thing is, we're walking.
Nonstop.
You're walking everywhere, like easily 10 to 13,000 steps a day.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, not even thinking about it. You're not going for a walk. You just have to walk to the restaurant or the grocery store, or to go look at the Duomo or whatever it is.
Let's just move to Europe.
Yeah, well,
beautiful.
That is the natural conclusion.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Okay, so the nighttime stuff is important too, just for people to understand. For people that are trying to quit porn, the most viewership happens from 10 o'clock at night to midnight.
Yeah,
that's the most popular time to watch porn, and 91% of it happens on the mobile phone. So like in our tech optimizing checklist, the number one thing is just go charge your phone outside of your bedroom.
Yep.
And you will literally just stack the odds in your favor.
Cool.
Because your phone's not nearby. And now at 10 o'clock, if your phone's not nearby and you're in your bedroom, you're going to have to find something else to do. And I think what you said was great. Read a book. Have the notepad. The notepad, that's really good. I'm actually gonna do that. I think that could be really helpful for me.
You just brought up a couple things I forgot. I never sleep with my phone in the room. It's always in our bathroom, like our ensuite.
Okay.
So never. Like, my wife's not allowed to have her phone near her. It's like a big no-no for sure.
Yeah.
Not even just like the whole radiation thing and that stuff. It's actually, I don't want any light in the room whatsoever. I don't want the risk of any light in the room.
Yes.
So our rooms are pitch black.
Yeah.
We have blinds and curtains. It's like, let's just make sure
that helps a lot.
Everything's just as dark as possible.
I'll just add one thing there. Psychologically as well, there is something about having the phone outside of reach
100%.
that changes the way you think when you're lying in bed.
Yep.
Because I have had to have my phone nearby, like Shaloma was out late or something like that, and I just wanted to make sure she got home safe, but I was going to go to bed, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel the difference. I feel the difference with my phone. All of a sudden, I'm like, I could go check some scores or whatever I want to do on my phone. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I don't know how practical this piece of advice is, but it's like, I don't go to bed after my wife. That's not a thing. That's maybe difficult for other people, but it's like, Helen goes to bed, like I go to bed, you know, and that definitely reduces the likelihood that there's friction there.
There's a lot of wisdom in that. Yes.
And then for all you married men, it's like, find out when your spouse is most in the mood too. Right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you got to figure that out.
Yes.
Because it's like, we all know, you get married, you think it solves everything. It definitely doesn't.
No.
Right? And you have to learn abstinence within marriage in a whole different way. Right?
Yeah, have kids and then you'll find out all about it.
For sure. For sure. And I think the other piece is, because, I mean, number one, we're very just a lot of now open and honest conversations about needs, desires in a very like loving, caring way.
Yeah.
But the other thing is just like realizing like, cool, maybe your wife's a morning person when she's in the mood, right? And a lot of women probably wake up feeling more of that versus, especially if they're looking after kids all day.
Yeah, they're exhausted at night. They just want to go to bed.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So those things are also helpful to give you like a carrot to work towards. Where you're like, okay, cool. For sure. I mean, the sleep piece though, big things. You're reminding me, it's like pitch black rooms, super dark rooms, get away from devices for sure.
Yes.
Helpful stuff.
Yeah, really good. Okay, and then actually the other thing you mentioned, very important, you mentioned you guys pray every night.
Yeah.
Could be really quick. but it's at least something.
100%.
I had John Gordon on my podcast. Do you know who John Gordon is?
I don't.
He wrote The Energy Bus. That was his famous book, but he's written a bunch of books. Think like one tier under John Maxwell as far as leadership guys. Yeah. So works with all the big sports teams, does a lot of motivational stuff. He's amazing. He said something on the podcast that really changed things for me. He said, couples that pray together stay together.
Cool.
And he talked about his own season where, he and his wife weren't really connected at all. There was a lot of dysfunction in the home. And he also messed up, and he didn't go into a lot of detail, but he just said he messed up and he needed to earn his wife's trust back.
Yep.
And so he was sleeping outside of the bedroom, and he I think learned couples that pray together stay together. So he just said, okay, I don't get to sleep with my wife right now, but I will just pray for her. I'll pray for our marriage, whatever. And then eventually one night she said, okay, you know what, you can come back and sleep in the bed. But he still didn't feel like there was enough trust for him to say, let's pray together. So he would just pray for her in the bed. And then one day she was like, hey, what do you always do before bed? I hear you like murmuring or something. And he's like, no, I'm always just praying for us and whatever. And she's like, oh, well, can I pray with you? And so they started praying together. And
so cool.
He talks about how it was literally like a secret weapon to gain back his wife's trust. And their marriage has never been better. And like a bunch of things came from it. So cool. So you guys don't miss on that? That's just every night?
Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. Same with meals. With kids, I found meals get a little bit crazier. There's times where I'm like in the middle of eating, I'm like, I didn't pray for my meal. This might sound overly simplistic, but man, there's just these rituals that are safeguards. They're little hedges of protection around your life.
Yes.
So 100% important. The other thing I started doing that I actually at some point I'll have to pick your brain about even more is you inspired me. You do Sunday fasts.
Yeah.
Right? Physically, not eating food.
Yeah, 24-hour fast. Yeah.
And I went through John Mark Comer's podcast series on this. Loved it.
Yeah.
And definitely went, okay, cool. Early Christians, they didn't just like abstain from devices or Netflix. It's like they actually physically didn't eat food.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. So Wednesdays is my new thing.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And the other hilarious thing that I added onto it, and I call it hilarious because there's going to be people that are like, that is the dumbest thing ever, but there's someone listening that needs to hear it.
Okay.
I don't wear a watch on Wednesdays. And the reason is that it's a material thing that I really enjoy that now on Wednesdays, I don't wear them. And it's like a little sacrifice to be like, this thing doesn't own me. Nothing owns me. Money doesn't own me. I'm not in love with this stuff. It's all just stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a little tiny like offering to God to be like, hey, I just want to make sure you have my heart. Right? So, but not eating, I've done it now. So I just did this past Wednesday and I had done it Sunday as well. Kind of just to get into a bit of a groove with it. I noticed though how much my appetite for like just things. Like I remember at one point I was driving. I'm driving to a meeting, like to do work, right? And I'm tired because I'm fasting.
Yeah.
So I have no desire to make phone calls, but I also have no desire for anything. There's nice cars driving by. I'm like, dude, I'm so hungry and tired. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less about material things, money. Like nothing seemed to matter as much.
Yeah.
What else have you found that's been a benefit for you from fasting as much as you've been doing it?
So the one thing so I've been fasting 24 hours a week since like 2017. I've been doing it for a long time now.
Wow.
And the one thing that I learned probably about 2 years in was anytime you see fasting in the Bible, well, almost every time you see fasting in the Bible, it's always coupled with praying. So that was the one thing I realized is I'm like, okay, I'm fasting, but I'm not fasting and praying. So what I started to do on the days I would fast is I would pick something to focus on.
Cool.
Like whether it's for one of my kids, it's for the business, the marriage, or maybe somebody that's in need in my life or whatever. And anytime I get hunger pangs, I just use that as a cue to pray for that person.
Love it.
And that's been amazing. And dude, I'll tell you what, like I shared at the beginning about just how God brought you into my life at the right time to start Deep Clean and this podcast and everything that we have. But something that happened in probably the year, the timeline's a little bit fuzzy, but probably the year to year and a half leading up to the launch of Deep Clean is I was fasting and praying for business ideas and for just breakthrough in my career almost every week. Like it was the thing that was on my heart. And I can tell you like other things that I've prayed for and fasted for that I've seen breakthrough in. And I don't even really do it for the breakthrough, to be honest, because the thing that I found is if I feel hungry and then I use that as a reminder to pray for my marriage, my fasting actually just ends up becoming an opportunity for me to just grow closer with God.
Yeah.
To connect with God in ways that I wouldn't ordinarily. Not that I don't pray throughout the day, but I definitely don't do it as much as the days when I'm fasting.
Yeah.
Because I'm just hungry so often, right? And so so that's, I think, probably the biggest thing I've picked up is just coupling prayer with it, and not just prayers that lead to breakthroughs and results, but prayers that lead to more intimacy with God.
Cool. Well, I don't want to lose the reward from us talking about the fact that we fast as like a biblical principle of like, don't go gloat about this kind of stuff. Because I'm not trying to say I'm spiritually enlightened, but what I definitely noticed was that I was fasting a day on Sunday to be like, hey God, I want clarity on something. Yeah. So I fast, and you know what I felt God say to me? He's like, I'm not your genie in the bottle, right? Like, I'm not going to just like, you fast this once and you're gonna expect to have some kind of spiritual enlightenment. Yeah. And I definitely had the sense of like, okay, cool. I want relationship with you. Yeah. I want to hear your voice more clearly. And I want you to be the God of my life, not the God of a decision. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So that's it. You encouraged me to do that though.
Oh, that's cool.
When I heard you doing that, I'm like, man, Sundays are going to be hard for me because that's like the day when I see family and there's good food around and everything else. So I really respect you for that. That's a very hard day to do that. Yeah. Wednesdays for me are like, okay, cool, let's do it.
It's tough socially. I don't know if you remember the one time we went out for lunch after church.
I remember.
Yeah. And then you're like, why aren't you ordering anything? I'm like, oh, dude, I'm fasting.
Yes.
It was like, oh, what? We could have done something else. We have to go out for food.
100%.
You know, there's a social cost for sure. Okay, so you guys pray together mornings. Tell me a little bit about marriage stuff. And I think I'm especially curious because you did mention you've been clean of pornography for 4 years, which is amazing.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
That is roughly the length that you guys have been married, more or less.
A little bit less.
There's a little bit less. Yeah, a little bit less. So what changes have you noticed in your marriage since quitting pornography?
Oh man, the best changes. So the best changes because look, it's like when your mind is pulled in those directions, the very first thing that changes is, and I'll say this, which might discourage somebody at first, but long term it's the right thing, is it takes your brain time to come back from these patterns and habits, and you just like got to stay with it. Yeah. But what I notice is my ability to be present and enjoy having sex with my wife is like through the roof compared to when my mind was like consciously thinking about other things. I noticed that I'd be with my wife thinking about other things.
Oh, I see.
And I was like,
so it's not even that like you're tempted and fantasizing necessarily, or that you were fantasizing. It was just you weren't as present in the moment.
Both.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Both. It's like my ability to be present with my wife's gone way up. Okay. My ability to use my body has gotten way better, and my consciousness to my body is way better.
Yeah. And the mind muscle connection and all that. Yeah.
Huge. Absolutely. And you might like, that's very counter to what the culture taught for me growing up. Right? It's like you look at
watch porn and
100% understand yourself better, understand what women like. It's all such nonsense.
Yes.
What you realize for sure for me getting married is like, oh, this is a person. They have personal preferences. Whatever I think I've seen that they ought to like is probably not the case. It's probably just personally what they like. Yeah. So it's like you got to just figure out your spouse, right?
Yes.
But my ability to feel present and my ability to feel to get connected to my own body, like night and day. Wow, what a huge difference.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big thing. And it's cool because I get to share that as somebody that's gone through it while being married.
Yes.
Whereas you would have entered marriage and had a bit of a different perspective already.
Yeah, it was a different story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a huge piece. What else? I think my overall appreciation for my wife, like how attracted to her I am, just keeps going up, which is really cool.
Yes.
You'd think like, my wife would be the first to say, it's like, you have kids, my body, it feels like it's changing, all this stuff, right? Of
course, yeah.
What's really cool that nobody had ever told me is like, my wife learned more about her body going through pregnancy and feels more comfortable in her body after.
Yeah.
Which is really surprising.
Yes.
Right? And also because it's like, I've watched her have a child.
Yeah.
It is about the most vulnerable thing you can let someone in on. And I was like essentially my wife's doula. I was there for all of it.
The story, you were right in there with her.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I'm
the same way. Like the midwives are always like, dude, can we hire you? Like they love it. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, I loved it because I love just being able to be like a football coach for her.
Yes.
Like that's the time you get to like yell in your wife's face and she's like, thank you for that. That helped me get through it. Right.
The one time you can yell at your wife and she likes it.
For sure. Loves it. And the other piece that I love though about all that is like you're fully present. You're like in this moment.
Dude,
doesn't matter.
You couldn't think about something else if you wanted to in those moments.
Not at all.
No,
so beautiful. But no one ever told me that afterward. No one had told her. It was like kind of this cool discovery where it's like, cool, you feel more comfortable with your body, more connected.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So these little journeys throughout our marriage together has been huge in us finding more joy in it and just like enjoying it more.
Yeah.
And also for me, not having too much of my joy or my like sense of fulfillment coming from sex and marriage too. I think it's really easy to like place a lot of emphasis on like, if I had better sex in life, everything would be better. It's like, honestly, probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not as big a deal as we seem to make it.
Yeah.
Right? Our culture idolizes sex like a god.
Yeah.
Right? It's like sex, money, and rock and roll. It's
I think it's even worse in the church because the message is so strong about don't have sex before marriage,
Totally.
which is obviously biblical and right. But then there's nothing about like, but you can still be a sexual being, and you're not wrong for having sexual desires when you're single.
Yeah.
Like God gave them to you for a reason. You just have to learn how to manage them appropriately, and you manage them differently when you're in a marriage, you know?
Yep.
But a lot of people don't get that. So then they think like, I'll cross the line, I get married, and all of a sudden everything's perfect and sex is amazing and it's going to solve all my problems.
Yeah.
Which just doesn't happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I also think the other thing that's interesting is like when you're looking at pornography, your desire for sex is so through the roof all the time, but it's not in line with what your body actually needs. And I don't really know scientifically how to explain that.
Yeah.
Other than personally what I've noticed is like, because it's not a part of my life, I'm not bugging my wife to have sex this crazy unrealistic amount.
Yes.
Which at first scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, shouldn't I
Something
be
wrong
wanting
with
to have
me?
sex every day of my life, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd heard a couple of weird formulas of how often you're supposed to be, you know, essentially having sex or whatever,
everyone's
right?
got a framework,
100%.
Yeah.
But what I did notice was as you get older, those time frames expand a little bit.
For sure.
And I remember thinking like, oh, I want to fight against that.
Yeah,
and act
that won't be
against
me.
that. That won't be me.
Yeah, like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, now I've realized like, oh, there's actually like this really cool thing that I'm trying to get comfortable with, which is just like when it's happening, it's happening. I don't got to be fighting for it. It doesn't need to be this point of tension in our marriage.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just getting older and boring, man. But it's like but our sex life's gotten better and better.
Yeah.
Which you hear old people talk about. I love when there's like, you know, couples in like their 70s talking about how they're having the best sex ever, and you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Explain that to me, but I think I'm getting it now.
There's a lot of data that shows the older you are, the longer you've been having sex, those are the people that report the greatest levels of sexual satisfaction.
Right. It's like their brains are the most connected.
Yeah.
They've got like the deepest grooves of just understanding life
each
together.
Other. Yeah, and they understand each other, even sexually. They understand what each other wants and doesn't want and everything else. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I think this is important too because people, well, for starters, you don't know until you go through it, right? Until you go through marriage or you go through having kids, a couple different seasons that change these dynamics. And for me, I mean, I'll be frank. Like, I think getting married, I was very prepared for that transition.
Yep.
I think having kids, I was a lot less prepared. Not even just on how it affects sex life, but just everything at large. A lot of things in your life change. I'm curious for you. So, like, it's interesting because we're talking about managing your time. The priorities shift from season to season. And so this is something I talk about a lot that I think people always appreciate is you have to kind of know the season you're in as well. Because the things that we were focused on, like even you and I, like we've been running together for a couple of years now. The things that we were focused on a couple of years ago are very different than the things we're focused on now. We're in different seasons, different stages of life, stages of the business. So that's something I want to ask you as well is like, how do you discern what you're focusing on, you know, because I know you've had seasons where you're like, I'm really dialing in my fitness right now, or I'm really working hard on marriage and connecting that and making sure, you know, that's a priority. How are you discerning? Like, how do you know when it's like, okay, I think this is something I need to focus on a little bit more in this season?
That's cool. So what I try to think of a lot is there's some version of me that's like 80-year-old, an 80-year-old version of me. It's the whole, I think there's a little bit of a Hormozy thing around this, but there's definitely a belief that I have that there's an 80-year-old version of me that is wiser than me, has a lot of perspective on how I would live today. And I try to kind of consult that person from time to time of just like, hey, what are the priorities? I'll give you an example. The other day I was doing something on my phone and my son's taking a bathtub and it felt kind of important to me. And then I had this moment of, could I do what I'm doing like in 2 hours when he's in bed? I was like, I could. Phone was down and I just sat there and watched him have a bath. Right? Because there's some 80-year-old version of me that's like, you idiot. You are on your phone right now. And this is a moment where I'll never forget, man. Someone bought Harvey a little shirt that said like little realtor in training. And I remember thinking that's so tacky and adorable and whatever, it's cute. And he wore it one time before he outgrew it. And I remember when we went to put it on the second time and it no longer fit, I was like, I thought 6 years from now I was going to put the shirt on him and I was going to get to laugh with him and enjoy it.
Right.
Like my perception of time and how fast this newborn stage was happening was like, oh yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
He'll never wear that thing again. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm trying to hold on to that perspective that it's like, I don't, like 3 years from now, I don't get to enjoy Harvey as a 2-year-old. It's over forever. Right? So I try to hold on to that a lot. So a lot of my season of life right now is like, I just want to be home with my family, man.
Yeah.
I just want to be with my wife and kids. I want to enjoy all these moments with my kids. Because it's like you hear everybody say like, hold on to it. We can't hold on to it. Time's just passing. So all we can do is actually just be more present more often. That's it. Right? So I think about that a lot. And as a result, here's what's really cool in business is it's forced me to be effective. Right? It forced me to go, we went through strategic coach together and it's like, you write this stuff down and you realize like, what if I could just be in my zone of genius all the time of like my skills, my strengths, I could delegate everything else, really just focus on that. No matter how much it really costs me, what if I could just get rid of that stuff and focus on what I'm really good at? And then really quickly you're like, oh, cool. I could buy back so much of my time. And what would I do that time with? It's like, I might exercise, spend time with God, spend time with my family, right? It's like spend time with friends, whatever. Spend time just thinking, reading, doing hobbies. I've been playing more drums than I ever have before, which is a new thing.
That's cool, man.
So it's cool. So I've really built my life around the priorities of, my priorities haven't changed a lot. It's like faith, family, fitness. Okay. Some hobby stuff as well. Friends would be a part of the family piece. So I've built my life in such a way now where it gives me more access to those things more easily. Like you said, I put a gym in my basement. Okay. I also put a little home theater in my basement you haven't seen yet. That I was like, just really wanting to be like, I'm going to enjoy the time that I do have. Max it out. I'm just going to really enjoy it.
I love it.
So that's been super helpful. And I'd say the other priority shift is like working 10 to 5 as a priority is like, I want to be home. Right? Between 5 and 6, I'm home every day.
I love that.
Okay. The thing that's done for me is it's made those 10 to 5 hours super effective.
Because it forces you.
It's like, what would you call that? Where it's like a mechanism that forces you.
It's like an artificial boundary.
100%.
That kind of idea. I'm sure there's another better term for it, but
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny what you just said about Harvey, because I'm going through the same thing with Judah. And for me, like, again, you know how hard I've worked to get my work week down. You know, like I take Fridays off. I don't travel. I could travel and speak and do a lot of stuff traveling. I just don't. I say no to all of it. So I can be home with my family as well. It's the same deal. This is why I got into business all these years ago. But it's so funny because I feel like of all the fathers in my life, probably, I don't think there's anybody else I know that spends as much time with their kids as me. And I still like can't cope with my kids aging. Like I find it so like, I can't believe that Judah's getting older and that there's like, have you ever heard of the concept of 18 summers? You ever, right? I think I gave you that book actually.
We read that together.
So, so I'm like, I have 16 summers left with Judah. Like I can't, you know what I mean? Like no amount of time with him ever feels like enough. It's like, it's a little bit of a moving goalpost kind of thing. So it's interesting, but family's your priority in this season. I'm curious for you, how do you know like what to, because I know you've been working out a lot more. The gym at home will do that. So how about like in the mix of the things you mentioned, which I think faith, fitness, family, there's another F in there.
You could throw in finances.
Finance or business, you know, whatever. And then I know friends and fun and all that stuff. There's lots of words there. But how do you know the mix? Or how do you, is there something you do to decide like, this is what I'm focusing on in this season, or generally, are you find you have a pretty good balance of everything? I
feel like I definitely feel as though I have a good balance. I think it's really helpful, and I can empathize with people who maybe them and their spouses are not as aligned on some of these things. But Helen and I, it's not that we're not social people, because I definitely consider myself a social person. But I am very I'm kind of cool with just being with my family and taking things easy.
We're the same way too.
So I think the way we've found a good balance with a lot of stuff right now is I try to follow that energy piece of like, where am I getting energy from? So like in the evening, sometimes I'll be playing with Harvey, and then he'll kind of go off to do his own thing, and I'll jump on the practice pad at my drum kit for like 5 minutes and just like have fun with enjoying these little different things that you get to slide into your life. Working out is kind of a non-negotiable. It's like, I look at it more like I got to get 4 of those workouts in a week. If I can just do that whenever they happen, I'm not trying to be overly rigid. I would maybe argue that in some ways this year has been like my anti-self-development year. Not in like that I'm not trying to grow, but very much in that I'm not trying to create this crazy amount of structure that forces me into this box, partly because we went through Strategic Coach. And then I realized, oh, I'm the kind of personality based on this, without like letting it consume me, but being like, cool, that seems accurate with how I like to do stuff. I like to be a little last minute. I like to kind of go with the flow. I'm more effective when I've got 1 hour before I need to do something to prepare. That's when I tend to crush it. I love the pressure. I've leaned into that more, and it's made me more effective with my time and like really enjoy it a whole lot more.
Yeah, it's so good. It's really good. And going back, we were talking about this a few minutes ago, and I wanted to touch on it a little bit because I know you were talking about just the difference that happens in your body, in your marriage, everything else when you quit pornography. And one thing that people kind of forget is that everyone talks about dopamine when you're quitting pornography and some of these things. But there's actually there's 2 other neurochemicals that are also really important, which are serotonin and oxytocin. And oxytocin is the bonding chemical. So it is also why when you quit pornography, you end up like the relationships that matter to you end up mattering more, and you feel more connected.
Very cool.
Because in some ways you're just channeling all of that bonding energy towards only the people that you love and care about. But the other thing that you touched on, and this is kind of where I want to land, is serotonin. And serotonin is the pleasure chemical, but it's the satisfaction, the long-term chemical. So dopamine is kind of like I need the hit right now, I want the quick reward. Serotonin is like watching a sunset is the classic example of something that's serotonin inducing. So it takes time. There's something really satisfying about it, but it doesn't have that like hurriedness to it.
Cool.
And I think, the whole design of this conversation, hopefully this gives people some ideas on what they can be doing with their time, their newfound time, their newfound energy. And one thing that the data shows again and again is the connection between purpose and making good decisions in general, but specifically with pornography. People who have purpose in their lives are way less likely to watch pornography.
Super cool.
And the inverse is true. The more meaningless you feel about your life, the less aim you have and the less direction, the more likely you are also to then watch pornography or get into trouble. So I think purpose is a huge part of this. And you talked at the beginning about your journey, as a skateboarder, right? And then drums is the next logical thing. And you've gone through a lot of different seasons and shifts, and even the company that you started that changed my life is not something you're running anymore. You had to sunset that, and I know that was not an easy season that you went through. I'm just curious for you, how have you attached what you're doing to purpose? Because even what you do now, being a realtor, we know lots of realtors who they're just sharks, and they're in it for the money. They'll cut corners. Even some of the things you're talking about, integrity, like those are not things that they're thinking about in how they do real estate. So for you, how do you attach what you're doing to purpose? Because I think people see what I'm doing, for example, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. That I actually had another entrepreneur just the other day say, that's amazing that you can help a client, and then the benefit is like they're closer to Jesus. And they have a better marriage. And there's a really difficult side of that as well for me as an entrepreneur, which is that I still have to think about profit and cash flow at the end of the day and make decisions that don't feel very ministry oriented at all.
100%.
Even though I do think what we're doing is ministry. But I also believe when you give your heart to Jesus, everything you do is ministry. Whether you're a realtor or a janitor or you're a pastor preaching every Sunday. So I guess I'm just curious for you, how do you tether what you're doing to purpose and get kind of, I guess, add that spiritual element to, I'm not just running a successful real estate practice here, but I'm actually doing something meaningful for the kingdom of God.
Number one, I cut a big check this year to give away a bunch of money. That easily makes it feel like good purpose.
Did you hit your target? I know you had like a thing of like, if I hit this target, I will donate X amount of dollars.
Yeah, I told you about that.
You didn't tell me the specifics, but you told me you were on pace to hit that target. And that you didn't think at the beginning of the year you were actually going to do it.
And I would say part of that is like, so way surpassed it. And, this is definitely not to go brag about giving, but like giving's probably one of the coolest things to me right now. When I meet somebody that makes a ton of money, if I hear they give away a ton of money, I'm like way more like, that is so super cool. Because it's just, I think it's the ultimate flex. It's super cool. And the cool part is like, as Christians, we don't really talk about this in a positive way, which is we don't want to, the temptation is to run around and want to go talk about it. Maybe I shouldn't even be saying I give away a lot of money. It's all relative, right? But what I would say is that that purpose for me is super exciting to be like, I think the coolest thing is when you hear these guys who live on like a reverse tithe, where it's like 90% of what they earn gets given away and they live on the 10%.
Unreal, yeah.
And the average person hears that and thinks, if I made $100 million a year, it'd be no problem to live on the 10, right? And it's like, cool, well, you're probably in the top like 2% of wealthiest people on the planet already. You just don't realize it. Like if we take however many billions of people we have on this planet.
Yeah, I think once you make 30 grand American 100%. A year, you're top 5% in the world. Something like that.
Yeah. So crazy. Like, oh my gosh, right there, it's like you're just looking at the ultra wealthy thinking, if I was in that situation, I would be super generous too. It's like, maybe, but it's a muscle, right? So that's a big purpose for me. I get very inspired by that. It's easy, quite honestly. For the purpose in my life, I have a vision document. You and I have talked about various versions of this throughout the course of our life.
I basically follow the same vision board template that I learned in your program.
Super cool. Mind design doc, man.
Mind design, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I, to this day, I've simplified it a bunch. I have my notes app on my phone, which I use the iPhone, the MacBook for everything. So everything's all synced up.
Yes.
I use my notes app every day, all day long for everything. My task lists are in there. I keep everything very simple these days. And one of the things is I've got my vision doc in there. Here's what's crazy. There's times where I'll jump back into that document and just review because it's a big document.
Okay.
I'll jump in and review something. And like, I think I told you this at one point. I remember at one point I looked out of my driveway and I saw 2 cars that I had on the vision document in the same colors and everything. Did I ever tell you this?
No.
I remember at one point I looked out and I was looking at the cars that we had, the 2 SUVs we had. And I looked back and I was like, wait a minute, like I have a photo of these exact 2 cars together. And when I put the photo in there, I just wanted the one. I didn't even know that I wanted the other. Could just be a total coincidence.
Wow.
But it's like I've seen it happen kind of over and over again where I looked at even revenue targets that I had and I was like, oh, I surpassed that. But like I kind of surpassed it evenly each year, each number. So I really believe that having a purpose is about a vision and knowing where it is you want to go. And that constantly expands and grows and evolves over time. But it's like having that thing that you're trying to move toward is your identity to some extent. It's who you believe you are, what you believe you're capable of. When that thing grows and you can really lean into like, what is it that I'm trying to actually pursue and go after? I have this North Star, this vision of who I am. And then you can start to actually see progress towards it. It's like the most addicting thing ever. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's a lot of how I find purpose. I spend a lot of time thinking about what kind of world I want my kids to grow up into that I get to help shape and be a part of for them. And then it's also like the revenue goals are fun. Yeah. I love being like, let's aim for some huge revenue goal and go knock it out of the park.
Yeah, that's really cool. The vision thing is a big deal for sure. And I mean, even in Strategic Coach, there's the story of Jim Carrey, what is it called? The dream check or largest check?
Yeah.
I think they call the practice the largest check, but the story is that he, was a failing actor, couldn't land a gig.
Yeah.
Wrote himself a check for $10 million and dated it 5 years from the date.
Yeah, crazy.
And then like surely but slowly his career takes off. And then he does Dumb and Dumber for $10 million.
Crazy.
I think it was on the day that he got the check or payout or something like that.
Crazy.
It's a wild story. Obviously, it doesn't always work that way, but I think there is something about having vision.
Yes.
And like I know for me, I've realized that we've set some targets in our business that we have failed to hit.
Yep.
And I've set some goals personally, like even in my physical fitness that I haven't hit. But just setting the goal at least got me in the direction.
Yes.
And even though I fell short of the goal, I'm still way further ahead than I would have been
100%.
if I would have just kind of aimlessly said, I hope to get healthier.
Yes.
But because I set something lofty, it actually moved me in the right direction.
Yeah, well, to your point, even earlier when we're talking about that amount of money. So here's exactly what happened for everybody listening. I was in the shower and I felt like I was having a conversation with God pretty clearly where he said, if I can put this much money into your bank account, your corporate account by the end of the year, would you give me X? And I remember I laughed out loud and I was like, sure. And I was like, I went and told Helen, I said, hey, I feel like God said this. I don't know for sure. It doesn't seem like God said it because it's so unreasonable. But if there's this much in our corporate account, we're going to give this. And she was like, cool. Like, why are you telling me this? I'm like, 'cause I need you to hold me accountable because if it actually happens. And then I remember it was, I don't know when that would have been, maybe in the spring. And that goal was way out of sight. And then I remember it's like late into the summer. And I said to Helen, I was like, uh-oh. Like that thing that I told you about, it's about to be a thing. And then we started planning, what would this look like? How would we do that?
Wow.
And all that is to say that it's like, when it comes to having a vision, like have a crazy vision.
Yeah.
Tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
Be held accountable for it.
Yes.
And like have something tied to that vision that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, giving something bigger than I was prepared to give
really good, yeah.
was an exciting thing because it's not just about me. And then what naturally happens that you just pointed out is then you start to ask yourself questions about like, well, if I was to do that, then what would that have to look like? Which is really the whole 10x mind expander process of like, let's just imagine for a second I could, whatever my income is, my fitness goals are, my relationships look like, if I could make those things 10 times better, what would that look like? And just set aside your criticism, your uncertainty, your judgmental mind with those things. Write it all down and look at it, and then be like, well, if I was to make that happen, how would I do it? So one of those things was a TV show. I think I told you about this. Was doing a TV show.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, the next step would be I'd have to understand what the TV show process is. So I go into ChatGPT, break down the TV show process, right?
Yeah.
And long story short, it tells me all these different steps. Last week, we just signed up with a production company to like shoot a TV show, or not shoot a show, to shoot a reel that they are going to then take. And this is like a production company that's done, I don't know, 30 shows for all these different broadcasters in Canada.
Sweet.
And I was like, oh yeah, it's just another one of those things in life. You have this crazy vision. You're like, what would I have to do? You make progress. Sometimes things aren't as hard as you think they're going to be. So it's crazy.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. So cool. Any words of wisdom for somebody who's made it this far into the episode? Yeah, anything just as we kind of land, last words. How can somebody maybe even just distill some of what we talked about? We touched on a lot of the different things today. If somebody wants to kind of convert this into something actionable, what would you tell them? My absolute favorite quote right now is, when you're born, you look like your parents. When you die, you look like your decisions. And I've been thinking a lot lately about what am I going to look like when I die? What are those decisions going to look like? And for the person listening right now, maybe you're in a great season of life. Maybe you're in a challenging season of life. This too passes, right? My wife says to me all the time, hey, things feel a little bit too good to be true in life. And I would agree. And at the same time, I'm like, what if it could also be 10 times better than this is? What would that look like, right? So for the person listening, you're where you are in life because of your decisions. Right now, you look like the culmination of a bunch of your decisions. All you got to do is just change what you do next. And it's super hard to do that when you tell yourself it's the hardest thing in the world to do. It's also like, you could just get up and change your life if you really wanted to. So I'm constantly asking myself, it's like, am I moving in the right direction? And for the person listening, here's the prophetic word that I'll speak over them. I had someone give me a word that I was telling you about before we did this podcast today. That you weren't even privy to. It was 5 years ago. And the word that this person gave me, I'll give Pastor Stephen Wesley a shout out, is from stage at church. He highlighted my wife and I, didn't know us at all. And he's like, hey, I feel like God is going to give you an abundance of resources as you keep your hearts pure in love with Him, in love with one another. And in so many moments in my life, for the person listening, maybe they're dealing with pornography, maybe they're dealing with some kind of addiction, maybe they have challenges with their business, their spouse. I really believe that the decisions you make, you can get so blessed beyond your wildest expectations if you'll get on the other side of these things that hold you back. Even if you don't believe in God and you're like, cool, I just want to like get out of an addiction. I really believe that God set up this world where it's like when you do the right things, you get rewarded, even if you don't understand the process. Okay. The process for us is we understand there's things that get in the way of blessings in life. And I don't know how theologically accurate I'm going to be about everything. What I will say is, for me, what I feel is this still small voice that reminds me in moments when I feel tempted, do you want the blessing? Wow.
That's it, man.
Dude.
That's all I got.
Words of wisdom, man. Thank you. Thanks for finally coming on the show, man. This is great.
What a blast, bro. Thanks for having me.